What's up, guys? Sagi here, and welcome to another Tech Gear Talk Live. If you are not new to this channel, you know that I have a ton of Canon M50 videos. I've got reviews, settings videos, tutorials, FAQs, streaming videos, and I recently published a video where I built a professional video rig out of this entry-level mirrorless camera. And I got a ton of questions about why I picked the parts that I picked and why I chose, again, to build it that way. So I thought it'd be a good idea to go ahead and build this live with you. This way I can answer your questions and I can go more in depth about each part. Hopefully the audio is good. Let me know in the live chat that just to make sure that you can hear me. I'll also have this other view where you'll be able to see you'll be able to get a closer look of each of the parts. And I also posted an Ask Me Anything community post today. So I'll answer all the questions that I got there as well, or at least some of the ones that I picked. And the last question that I got, the last question that I'll answer, let's say it that way, really, boy, that was a tough one. And I spent a bunch of time just until I came up with an answer, but I'm pretty happy with the answer that I got. So I'm excited to, you know what, I'll tell you the question right now. The question is, if I could only keep one of my cameras, which one would it be and why? So that's the question. That is what's going to come at the end. And boy, that was a fun exercise. So looks like everything looks good and sounds good. Wonderful. So let's get going. And at the sort of core of this setup is this smallrig cage. And this is a cage that's specifically designed for the Canon M50. So it fits the body perfectly. And in a minute, I'll show you, they actually released a newer cage, this one. But this is the one that I used in the original video. And there are some differences between them, and it will change what you need to buy. So if you watch the original video, for example, the side handle won't fit in this one. And the reason why you might want to add a cage to your camera, well, there are a few reasons. Number one, the M50 is a bit on the smaller side. So this cage adds a little bit of size to it, and it really helps with handling. It's a lot more comfortable to hold. So I end up leaving this on my M50, even if I'm just shooting photos. I don't keep the entire rig on it, just the cage. So I really just took it off because we're going to build it from the ground up. But normally this cage is on my camera. Another advantage that I'll talk about, later on, but also I'll just mention now, when you want to use larger lenses with the M50, even something like the Sigma 16mm, and you want to use it on a gimbal, the lens is actually too big and it extends below the bottom of the M50. So it hits the quick release plate on the gimbal. And as soon as you put it in a cage, this little bit of elevation really, really helps. And then it doesn't hit the quick release. And finally, the last reason, which is really good, is the bottom of these cages is Arca Swiss compatible. So you don't actually need a quick release plate. You can just put the cage right on your tripod. So that's just a bonus. So there is a 1/4-20 at the bottom, and essentially you just fit the camera through. And let's get this going. And this is a great tool I got from Three-Legged Thing. And they're a tripod company out of the UK. I use this thing all the time. It's got a beer bottle opener too, but it's got a little hex on this side and a flathead screwdriver on this side and a clip, so I can always have it this way. I have two of these. I was thinking it's one of those like throwaway gifts, but I end up using it all the time, so you should get one of these. All right, so now you can see this sort of extends let me do this. This extends the grip out to here. So it's just so much more comfortable to handle this way. And again, yeah, I can get both hands and I don't lose any of the functionality. So it's very important to me that the cage will enhance the functionality, but I won't lose any. So obviously, again, if you watched any of my videos, you know that I love the fully articulating touchscreen. And because the Cage is cut out this way, you can still use it. You can have it face to front if you're vlogging, and you don't have to worry about, again, losing that functionality. Another thing that was important to me is that all the buttons and dials are accessible, so no issues here. And all the ports are accessible, and we'll definitely get to all of them as we build out this rig. And then finally, I needed to be able to change battery, so I can get the SD card out and change battery without having to remove the Cage. So like I said, the Cage just stays on, and I'm like I said, I'm really happy with this. So the next thing I added to the Cage is this side handle, and that's really for video. I wanted a more stable grip, even more so than this, and I feel like once I have the side handle attached, I'm getting much more stable video if I'm shooting handheld. So I'm going to go ahead and basically, it's got these two little screws. They go right into two of the 1/4-20s that this rig has. And of course, the rig has 1/4-20s and 3/8 threaded holes all the way around. So there's tons of options in terms of mounting accessories. And there's also a cold shoe mount right here, which we will use later on. So you can get a pretty decent amount of tightness out of that, but it's still a little loose. So what's cool is that smallrig added an Allen wrench right, or hex key right in here. So that way you can take it, tighten these, and they're not going anywhere. And I'm just going to keep that because I'm going to use it again later on. And now it's just perfect. I mean, I am completely comfortable letting go of the handle of the camera, I'm sorry, and just using this handle. And if I'm using both hands, this is so much more comfortable and so much more stable than just the small body of the M50. And again, this is a super powerful camera. Some people like the fact, I mean, I like the fact that it's very small when I'm traveling, but it's also very powerful. And this, I feel like, just enhances the functionality. We also have another cold shoe mount right here, two more 1/4-20s, and a 3/8 threaded hole. So, and we're going to be using one of these in a minute. Thank you, autofocus, for messing up there. All right, so that gets me this far. And so here's the new Cage. Here's what I wanted to show you. So the right side of the new Cage doesn't have two 1/4-20 holes that you can use this grip with. So I already updated the description of this video and the old one with a different handle that just, it's got a NATO adapter. So it just slides right up. You can get it at the right height and then lock it in. So I put everything in the description as well as an explanation as to which one you should use when. I just wanted to say hi to everyone. I will definitely get to the comment section. I see some great questions. If you have questions throughout this tutorial, go ahead and put them in the comment section. I'll be able to get to them. I'll just take breaks between specific parts. And before I move on, if this is your first time here, go ahead and hit the subscribe and notification. This way you can stay up to date on all the latest gear and tutorials. And definitely in the comment section, let me know what you like, what you don't like, and what you want to see more of. So, all right, so we've got the side handle, got this going. And the next thing I want to do is fix the autofocus and go ahead and add a top handle. So we've got this top handle. You can see, once again, we have 1/4-20s and 3/8 threaded holes all the way around, another cold shoe mount right here. And this is the way we're going to connect it to the Cage is with these two screws. So what I'm going to do is start these just by hand. Try not to drop this. We'll go here. And then There we go. Got it. And then I'm going to tighten them with another wrench. So that takes care of that. Now, a couple of reasons why I wanted to add this top handle. First of all, I wanted to mount additional accessories, so that helps me with that. And second of all, it's just easier for me to pick it up this way rather than always grabbing it this way. So when it's built out and I'm just picking it up and I'm walking from one place to another, it's just much more comfortable to just grab it this way and be on my way. So we've got handling. Also, if I want to do very low angle handheld shots, I can just hold it this way. And then sometimes you see in my videos that I'm following someone. This is a really, really good way to get those low angle shots. And even sometimes I feel like this is more stable than this. I don't know why. Maybe because I'm gripping it two different ways. I feel like this is more stable. So that's could be just be personal preference. So let's go ahead and continue to build on top of this. Now, if you've watched pretty much any review or tutorial that I do, you know how important I think audio is. And with this setup, I chose to go with the Deity V-Mic D3 Pro. This is an awesome microphone. I really like what this company is doing. They have very affordable microphones, but they're very powerful and great features. One of the things that I really like about this particular mic is that it has a stepless gain dial back here. So what I can do with this is increase the gain, meaning let the microphone amplify the sound instead of having the preamps on the Canon M50 do that. So I can go all the way up to plus 20 dBs on this, and I can turn down the preamps on the M50, and I get much better, higher quality, cleaner, and more crisp audio. This is very, very important. When camera manufacturers make cameras, their priority is not great audio. Most of the people probably that get these cameras don't even shoot video. They're just using them for photos. And the ones that do, the majority of them are just doing this as a hobby. They're just getting family videos. So it doesn't make sense for the camera manufacturers to invest a lot of money in audio components that a huge percentage of the users just isn't going to take advantage of. And it's going to bring the price up on the camera, again, for a feature that not a lot of people are going to use. So I'd much rather have them invest in dynamic range and better sensors, better ISO performance, and higher frame rate, and let me use a dedicated device for audio. This way, I know it's an additional cost, but this is always going to be better than the preamps and the microphone on the camera. I mean, it's going to be significantly better. Any external microphone that you get will do a better job than the built-in microphone on even my cinema cameras. So to take advantage of this, I'm going to go ahead and use this cold shoe adapter on the left, and I will go ahead and mount that. And one cool thing, or another cool thing about this microphone, there are, let me show you, two little threaded adapters here. So I can actually move the microphone forward and backward, and I can tighten it. And it doesn't make a huge difference with this particular rig, but with a lot of cameras, the ability to move this forward makes it so that it doesn't hit or interfere with the eyepiece. And so that's a great feature that's built into this shock mount. And of course it comes with a Ryko Lyre shock mount. So that way, when you're touching the camera or moving the camera, the handling noise is not being transferred to the microphone. So it won't pick those up. And I'm going to leave the cables out for now. Once I have everything built out, I will go ahead and attach the cables. I see El Jefe is here. What is going on? Again, I'll get to the comments in a little while. Let me just get this sort of built out. But great, thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it. I'm terrible at multitasking. That's the problem. So I can't read and like build stuff at the same time. I know it's a big fail on my part. Okay, so if you have the M50 or if you've done research about the M50, I need to take a sip here. You know that one of the criticisms of this camera is that the battery life is, it's going to say not great. It's pretty bad, especially for video. It's not great. So one of the things that I wanted to make sure that I take care of is to have a lot more power than what the battery can offer. And what I use here, I found this thing. It's awesome. It's called a Power Junkie. And it's from a company called Blind Spot. They're in the UK too, seems to be a theme. And basically what this little adapter lets you do is use a Sony NPF battery and then connect it using a coupler, which I'll get to in a minute, to the M50. So in order, I want this connected right here. So I'm going to use this 3/8 to 1/4-20 adapter. And what I did, you should all have this. You should all go on Amazon and buy this little bag. I'll put a link in the description once I'm done because I forgot. These are all the adapters, everything that you could possibly need. It's like $8 and you'll have them. I use those all the time. So I'm going to thread that over here and let me center that. And then I'm going to go ahead and that go in there. And there you go. And what I have two USB, you know what? I don't know that you can see them there. So we'll do that. I have two USB, so I could actually charge another device if I wanted to. And with the right cable, I could go directly to the coupler. I don't have that cable, so I just use the cable that came with my coupler. So let's go ahead and one of the reasons why I love this is that, you know, these Sony NPF batteries are super cheap, and I just buy third-party batteries. I don't need the originals. And I think I got two of these batteries for $37. And each one of them has 5.5 times the milliampere rating of the M50 batteries. So I've never come to the point where I ran out of these. But again, two of these would last me forever. So I'm going to go ahead and just press that in. Let me just, boom. And there is, and of course you can use the smaller one. They actually make ones that are even bigger than these. I don't think I have one here, which will last even longer. There is, I don't know if you can see these lights right here, so I can also see how much power is left in the battery, which again, it's a great indicator. And you don't need a separate charger, so you can just use a micro USB and charge the battery in this, essentially using this as a battery charger. So it's one less piece of gear that I have to carry with me. So I love that. Let's go ahead and now mount the monitor. So the next thing I did, you know, we've got the fully articulating screen on the back, which is great. But there's some advantages to this bigger monitor. I mean, first of all, it is bigger, so it's easier to see the image. But also there are some exposure features to this monitor that the M50 does not have. So the M50 does have a histogram. And if you're familiar with a histogram, it will show you how much of your image is either underexposed, overexposed, or properly exposed. So essentially it shows you a distribution of all the pixels that are in your image, so you can make sure that nothing is over or underexposed. And that's great. I mean, it's better than nothing. But this monitor has false color and waveform. And the advantage there is if you're using waveform, you can actually see which part of your image, it's sort of a left to right representation of which parts of your image are overexposed, because you may get to a situation where, or underexposed, you may be in a situation where you can't get everything properly exposed. Like there's just something really bright. And if you see that on the histogram, you don't know what part it is. But maybe when you're watching this, there's this little white area behind me right there that is completely blown out. But I'm okay with that because that's just a light back there. I don't mind that being pure white. If I only looked at a histogram and I wasn't sure what that is, and I made an adjustment based on it, that wouldn't be great. So I like that. And then false color, if you haven't seen it, I'll do a dedicated video about it. But basically what they do is, or what the feature does, is it changes all the colors on your image and makes it like solid colors. And each one of the colors is a designation of exposure. So like 10%, 20%, 50%, 70, 80, 90, and then 100 and more percent. So 100 and more will mean that it's completely blown out. And then you can see literally which areas of the picture are over or properly exposed. So great, great features. More advanced cameras like my cinema cameras have some of those features built in, but of course the M50 does not. So that's another reason why I wanted to go with an external monitor. I'm using the Andy Cine 4K. I think it's the Andy Cine A6 Plus is what it's called. So this way, I still have it. I can still rotate it. I can pinch to zoom. A lot of features in this. I covered some of it in the dedicated video, but a lot of features here that are super helpful. And I'm very happy with the fact that I have this monitor attached. So, okay, next, we're gonna add some light. And for this, I'm using, this is starting to get big. Like I can't even have this in front of me. I'm using the Godox R1. And this is a great little LED light. Obviously, you can see it's round. It's very powerful. It's also RGB, so it can change color. But here, I'm going to just turn it down so camera can relax. There we go. Oh, it's all the way off. So it's a nice light. You can get anything from I think 2500K all the way to 8500 in terms of color temperature if you're in CCT. And this is a great light to just add a little bit of punch to my subject. It can either be a fill light, or if I'm shooting at night, it can definitely separate my subject lighted enough so that I can get a proper exposure. It also comes with this magnetic diffusion material. And then this, you can see it's much softer and creates a fairly flattering light for such a small adapter. So the way I attach this is using this other cold shoe. You can see nope, you can't, but you can see I'm building on to all the components. And I'm using this adapter. There's a reason why I picked this one, and I'll show you in a minute. So basically, it's got a cold shoe mount right here, which is what I'm going to use. Let's go back to this. And so now this is attached. And now I'm going to go ahead, take this, and I'm going to attach the R1. I also use this R1 for a lot of my B-roll shots. So what's cool about this is it doesn't have to stay facing forward. I can actually turn it so I can point it right at my subject. I don't have this tighten all the way. And I can also rotate this down to whatever angle I need. So love this adapter, works great. I can probably leave this on for a little bit. So now you know we're going to turn it off. If I can find the on-off switch. Boom. Done. So this is pretty much the complete rig. I see a question there about how much does this whole thing weigh? I don't know. I haven't weighed it. Honestly, with the added grip, it's not really something that is a concern for me. I mean, I am getting a ton of added functionality out of a very small camera. So even if I had a bigger camera, I'd still need to add these components unless they are somehow built in. So even though this seems like it's getting big, and it is bigger and heavier, but the functionality is definitely worth it. And the quality of the content that you can get with this rig and being portable is awesome. So if you're in a studio and you can plug the camera in and you have lights and you can have an external monitor and you can have external audio, then you don't need to worry about it. But for a portable solution, this is awesome. So let's go ahead and make the last change. And right now I'm using the kit lens. And if you've asked me any questions about what your first lens should be, I always think your first lens should be a kit lens, unless you have very, very specific needs. I have a dedicated video to that. If you have any questions, go to my channel, search for first lens. You'll see it. Again, if you're not sure what to get, always get the kit lens. And in this case, it's the 15-45. So it's not the fastest lens there is, and it's not the best lens in low light, but it does have a pretty good range in terms of zoom, and it will get you used to what the different focal lengths look like, what you need, and then when you go and buy an upgraded lens, you'll know which one to get. So if you watched one of my recent videos, about the Sigma trio of lenses, you know that one of my favorite lenses is this Sigma 16mm f1.4 DCDN. If you're ever looking at Sigma lenses, DC just means that it's made for APS-C sensors, and DN just means that it's designed for mirrorless cameras. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this kit lens, throw this awesome 16mm, make this kit a little bit bigger, boom. And now this lens is nice and wide. It's a perfect vlogging lens. It's amazing in low light. I mean, it's a 1.4. So you can both get that shallow depth of field, kind of like what you're seeing right now, but I'm using an f1.8. And so again, but we're at f1.4, and it's super affordable for what you're getting. I mean, it's just an awesome lens. So if you're looking for fast EFM, wide angle, this is the lens that you want. The only other option really from Canon is this 22mm f2, and that lens is so instead of 22, it's a 16, and you're getting another stop of light from f2 to f1.4. So I love this lens if I'm using a gimbal like the Zhiyun M2, which is really small. This is an awesome small lens. But if size is not that important, then this lens it's so sharp. Again, go check that video out. It's an awesome lens. What's up, Tidal Gardens? All right, so the next thing I want to do is go ahead and show you how I wire the whole thing. So let's go ahead and start with the microphone. So we're going to start with the Deity. Let's do that. I don't know, was that loud? Probably loud. So we're going to plug that. I think it's right here. And in the camera, helps if I see it. So now we're good. We got the mic. That was super simple. And I really wanted to make sure that the cables don't get in the way for how I use the camera. Next, I want to go ahead and attach the battery. Now, what I did is, if you watched my Canon M50 battery issue solved video, I talked about these couplers. So basically, this is like a dummy battery. So if you're not familiar, I'll put this on its side, and let me make sure you get some good light in there. And we're going to go ahead and get rid of the actual battery. So this is just plastic. It's super light. And I'm putting it in the wrong way. That's what happens when I can't see. Okay. So a lot of people haven't noticed that there's like a little rubber flap right here. There, now you can see. But I'm doing it in reverse, so hold on. And basically you can just move it out of the way, and then you'll be able to plug this in, and this is going to go into the power junkie. Now, something really important. If you don't go this way, if you keep the battery door open and plug this directly into the coupler, your camera won't turn on. The battery door has to be closed in order for this to work. So I actually work the wire through the cage, and then I plug it in like that. Give me a second. Harder to do when you can't see, and you can see that now it's actually rotated like this, and it's not extending below the bottom of the cage. I also got this little Velcro piece that goes around all the cable. I have that going around this handle, and this way it's not going anywhere. And then I'm plugging that into, if I do it correctly, into my power junkie. So now I'm good. Battery's on. Everybody's happy. So cool. Working. I'll prove it to you. All right. And like I said, this battery will just last forever. So that's awesome. Next, we're going to connect the monitor. And what I did here is combine a couple of pieces. So this is the cable that I'm going to use. It's an HDMI to, I think this is called a micro HDMI. And essentially, that's going to fit right into the M50. But I didn't really want this to stick all the way out like this, because then there would be a lot of pressure on this joint right here. So what I did is I bought this little HDMI 90-degree adapter. So that's going to go into the monitor, and then I'm going to plug my cable into this. So the adapter is going to go, oops, you didn't see that. The adapter is going to go right here. And then this is going to go into the adapter. And then what I do is I wrap this around here. And I know you know, there's definitely there's some cable management here. But again, for the functionality that I'm getting, I'm super happy with the results. So that plugs right into the port right here on the side, and I'm good to go. So now I have my complete rig on, or ready to go. It's all cabled up, wired up. You can't see me, it's like in front of me. But this is just an awesome rig. Whenever I'm shooting video with this, it's an all-in-one. The only thing I really change about this rig is sometimes the microphone. So there are times where I don't want a shotgun microphone. I may have a subject that's a little bit too far away, or a subject that's moving, and I may not stay the same distance. So a shotgun microphone like this, or a video mic, is not going to work. And what I do then is I use the Rode Wireless Go. By the way, if you have the Rode Wireless Go, buy yourself this little case on Amazon. It's like $8. It's great. I have the entire thing in here. So basically, the Wireless Go consists of two components. There is a receiver that's going to be mounted onto the camera, and there's a transmitter that's going to be mounted on your subject. Now, there is a microphone focus. There is a microphone built right in to the transmitter, so you don't actually need a a lavalier mic, but if you want one, you can plug it in right here. So, and you can see this just attaches to the cold shoe mount. Let me see it. Just so it's going to attach at the same point as the Deity V3 mic, or V3 V V mic D3 Pro. Yeah, V mic D3 Pro. So I actually even have all the cables in this little pouch. I even have the lav mic and some little dead cats or little windscreens. So I have everything I need in here. It's all in one spot. I never have to worry about losing any of it. So if you have the Rode Wireless Go, definitely pick yourself up one of these. So, all right, let's go ahead and answer some questions. So, from Lawrence Broussard, cost. So if you're looking for prices, I've got everything in the description, every component. That way, if you're not buying the whole thing, you don't. I won't just give you one full price. You can just go ahead and find the parts that you need. Let me see. You just solved most of my M50 woes. Awesome. This is from Funked Fix Doggy. All right, cool. Glad. I see a lot of people got really good deals on an M50, so that's awesome. A good question from Ross Alexander Mason. How do you monitor audio? So one of the shortcomings of the M50 is that it doesn't show the audio levels on the screen if you see the picture. Meaning that if you're actually looking at the video, you can't see the audio levels. You can only see them in the menu. And definitely, once I connect this, it's the same thing because it's just showing you the same image that's on the back of the LCD. However, if you hit the info button enough times to where you get all of your, it's like the black screen that shows you all your settings, you do see the audio levels there. Now, there's a give and take because now you can't see the picture. But really, once I have, if I'm shooting in a talking head situation, the audio is not really going to change. And if the subject's moving, then I'm using the lav mic. So then I know, again, the audio levels are not really going to change. It's not an ideal situation, obviously, but, you know, it's a $500 camera, so we have to deal with it not having everything we could possibly want. Let's see. Any examples of video with the rig by Rich Meister? Yes, if you go look at the dedicated video, this is my last video that was published. You'll see some samples there. And let me scroll up because I think I missed a whole bunch. Questions about which monitor. Thank you. And by the way, thank you for everyone that's helping answer questions while we're going on. People are asking about the parts. I should have just started out by saying they're in the description. From the basic Canadian, the 16mm rocked my world. I get it. It's really so good. All three of these lenses, so this is the 16, the 30, and the 56. Like, they're all worth it. I mean, the video that I did dedicated to these three, I was blown away for the price. These are unbelievable lenses. And like, one of the criticisms of the EOS M line is that there aren't a ton of fast primes. There's the 22, and then I have the 32 f1.4, but that's really it as far as fast primes. So the fact that Sigma made these available, I really do think it helped rescue that line. And Canon's coming out with 5 new lenses for this line, so that's going to be great. But these are awesome. Modern Day Tech. Hey, Sigi, what's going on? What's up? Thanks for joining. All right. Can you do a 6D Mark II? Yes, I can do a review on that. All right. Someone said, I think all guys are bad at multitasking. Yes. From Mac, will this work with the EOS Rebel SL3? So yes, you can do, and I have a video coming out about that. You can use most of these components. Obviously, you're going to need a different cage, but the rest of these components, and I would use something instead of this monitor. You'll see. But yes, in essence, you can use most of these. You'll need, again, a different coupler for the battery. But other than that, no problem. Okay. Canon or Sigma lens from Luis Ramirez. So, okay. So like 10 years ago, I would have said Canon glass no matter what. But honestly, since the art line came out, the Sigma glass is so good. And these aren't art. I think these are all contemporary. And it doesn't matter. They're so good that at this point, I have no problems buying Sigma. So I already have like all the L series glass. I'm using the 24 to 70 2.8. I've got the 100 macro and the 70 to 200. But if I didn't, I probably wouldn't buy the Canon L series. I probably would get the Sigma ones. They're less expensive and they're awesome. And not only that, I also have Sony bodies. So with the Sigma MC11 adapter, I can use all my EF mount Sigma lenses on Sony for both photography and video. I have continuous autofocus. With my L series glass, I can use it for photography, but not for video because continuous autofocus doesn't work. So I have no problem. I would buy all three of these lenses with, like, I wouldn't even think about it. And if you're doing portraits, this 56 is like ridiculous. It's so good. If I only bought, well, I guess it depends on your use. Like, I guess if you're only buying one, maybe depends on your use. Because if you're going to vlog, you're going to want the 16. But if you're not really sure and you kind of want the best of both worlds, this 30 is great because you can still use it for portraits and it's kind of wide enough. It's probably not wide enough to vlog though, really. Okay, so all right, I think I'm at the top of. What do you think of the M6 Mark II instead of the M50? So that's one of the questions that I have coming up. So what I did is I also opened up an Ask Me Anything thread on my community tab. So a bunch of people asked questions, and I'm going to go ahead and answer some of those questions. And then I'll also get to the questions that you guys are asking in the comments. So another sip over here. If you're still watching and you haven't subscribed, I don't know what you're doing. Like, come on. You know you want to. Okay, so the first question is from, I need to scroll up, but it doesn't want to. The first question is from Thomas Franzen. And I'm curious about your top 5 pieces of gear that made your life as a videographer more comfortable or easier. Things worth investing in and in what order? So I think that's a great question. You can see that I addressed all of them or most of them here. So the first thing I would invest in is lenses. I would definitely invest in lenses over a body because good lenses, let's say you bought these and you bought these great Sigma lenses and the M50 Mark II came out. You can just change your body and you're still using those lenses. A good lens is going to be a good lens 5 and 10 years from now. This 24 to 70 f2.8 L series, I think I bought 10 years ago. There's still 0 reasons for me to upgrade it. The 70 to 200 2.8, same thing. It was a lot of money. I think it was like $2,800. But again, I bought it 10 years ago and there's still no reason for me to upgrade it. Even if I go with an RF mount camera, which we'll talk about in a minute, I can still use an adapter and reuse those lenses. If you don't drop it and you don't damage it, good glass lasts forever. So I definitely recommend investing in good lenses over a better body because you'll upgrade your body. So remember that. The next thing I would invest in, so the next two are tied for me. And it's hard for me to pick one over another for video because you really do need both. And so the two are microphone and lighting. The reason why I'm saying you need both is like if you don't have good lighting, it's a lot harder to shoot video. You can shoot with natural light, but if you're not controlling your light, it's very challenging as lighting conditions change. On the other hand, if you have bad audio, that's just going to ruin your video. End of story. Like bad audio is no. So any external microphone will do better than the built-in microphone on the camera. And not just that, try to have the microphone be mounted off camera. So meaning if the microphone is mounted like this, if I'm running and gunning, there is no other option if I'm going to use a shotgun, right? Unless I have a person with a boom. So it is what it is, and it's going to be, like I said, better than what the camera is going to do on its own. But if I have the option, if I'm in a like talking head situation like this, my microphone is not on the camera, which is way over there. My microphone is like right here. Like literally it's like an inch. It's not even an inch. It's like a half an inch out of the frame. So I'm getting audio right into the microphone regardless of how far the camera is. And that's going to make a significant difference. A lot of people think that if they're going to use a shotgun microphone, they're thinking like, how far away can I be from the person and still get good audio? And you should reverse that question. It's like, get that microphone as close as you can to the subject, and the level, like the quality of your audio will significantly improve. So those two. And the next thing I would buy, again, it's not even next, like you need these, but a tripod with a ball head mount. So if I'm not moving the camera when it's on the tripod, I don't need a video tripod. I don't need a fluid head because I'm not actually panning or have any tilt on the camera. So just any tripod, like literally any tripod, you can go buy a $10 or $20 tripod with a ball head. You'll be able to easily level your camera, and it's going to be much more stable than hand holding. Now, do I want to put a $2,000 rig on a $10 tripod? No. Okay, so let's be a little reasonable there, but you can probably buy a tripod for $50, $60. That's going to be awesome. Now, if you do plan on panning or doing any tilt, then you're going to want a fluid head because that's going to dampen those movements. So it'll make them much smoother. If you try to do it on a tripod head that's not designed for that, you're going to see it's not going to be very smooth. So that's the next one. And then number 5 is a power source. So I don't ever want to think about battery life. Well, let me say it differently. I don't want to worry about my battery running out. If I'm out shooting, if I'm actually doing a job, I can't be worried about power. I need to have enough power. And that's why, honestly, for me, when I shop for a camera, battery life is not a deciding factor. So a lot of people look at a camera and they'll say, well, this camera is rated for 400 shots and this one is rated for 600. It doesn't matter. Even if I have the one rated for 600, I'm going to have to buy additional batteries. I just can't risk it. By the way, thank you, Chris. Okay, I'm the worst with names. So if I mess up your name, I'm really sorry. But thank you so much for Chris Pigarelli for the $5 super chat. I'll get to that question in just a second. Let me just finish the power source. So I would buy extra batteries no matter what. I don't care if they're third-party batteries, and I'm not going to just bring one. I'll bring 2. So a solution like this where I can bring 2 of these batteries and I'm good all day is priceless for me. Now, if I'm in a studio, like right now, my cameras are actually plugged in. They have their battery in, fully charged, and they're plugged in, just to make sure redundancy is good. All right, so Chris's question was, my M50 freezes during live stream. I'm using an HDMI capture card. It will unfreeze if I press a button. Any ideas? What frames per second are you streaming in? And as silly as it sounds, have you tried a different HDMI cable? Let me know. That usually solves that problem, but let me know. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next question, and it's from, ironically, from Jim Samuel. I'm wondering why you prefer the Power Junkie and the Sony battery combination to a USB power brick. So if you watched my Canon M50 battery problem solved video, you know that I use this coupler with a portable power bank or a power brick, however you want to call it. And the other option is to plug it in. So the reason why I prefer this to the power brick is form factor and portability. I can go ahead and mount this right onto this rig, and even if I didn't have this rig, I could mount it to just the cage, and I don't have any wires that are loose. I don't have, like the power bank I used to have in my pocket with a wire to the camera, and if that ever got disconnected, the camera would turn off. There's much more of a chance of something going wrong there. Here, everything is self-contained, so form factor and portability are really important to me. If you look at what I do with the gear that I choose and why I choose it, removing friction from the entire production process and the whole creative process is really important for me. So I will almost always invest in items that remove friction for me. And this is definitely one of them. Thank you so much to Gary Clark, $14.99 super chat. Appreciate it. Definitely appreciate the support, and thank you for being part of this community. Let me see. Chris said close enough on the name. That means I failed. That just means Chris was being nice, and he said close enough. I appreciate your kindness. 60 frames per second. Yes, I tried 3 cables and even flipping the screen out because I heard something that the viewfinder can make it freeze, but nothing has worked. DM me on Instagram, and maybe we can troubleshoot together. It's not something I've ever run into, but it could be something with the capture card. So follow me on Instagram, DM me. If you're not on Instagram, on Twitter. Let's see if we can solve that. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. This one's from Syed Abu Bakar Sadiq. I have I'm horrible. Okay, love your work, man. Thank you. I want the rig and also the battery rig for the Canon 200D. Please tell me if it's worth getting. So the 200D or the SL2 actually has a battery grip that you can get. I think Velo makes it. It's the BG-C17. So go to B&H and search for that, and you can buy a battery grip that's dedicated right to your camera. So, all right. So this is from Luisra1834. Loving your content. Keep it up. Thank you. My question is about audio. I know that you talked about this in one of your videos, but can you explain a little bit more about setting the external mic on the M50 using the Rode Video Mic Pro Plus is what he meant. Okay, so I touched on this a little bit before, but essentially the Rode Video Mic Pro Plus has a button. It's similar to this gain control in the back, but it's just a button, so it's on off. And it's a plus 20 dB setting, meaning that the microphone itself will amplify the sound by 20 dBs, which is a lot. So what that lets you do is when you go into the audio settings in your M50, you should always be shooting in manual. You should never leave it on auto. Auto means that the camera will listen and it will increase and decrease the gain based on the audio. The reason why you don't want that is as soon as someone stops talking, the camera doesn't hear anything. It increases the gain all the way up and you're going to hear this horrible hiss. So when you have it on manual, you get to pick the level. Now, just the fact that you can control it means it won't change. but with the plus 20 dB setting on the Rode VideoMic Pro Plus or this Deity mic, you can turn the gain on the M50 all the way to 0 and then up 1. And that will be enough of a gain coming from the preamps on the camera, and the microphone is doing all the heavy lifting. So you're letting a piece of gear, a professional piece of gear that's designed just to capture audio, amplify the sound for you and get you better audio. And that is in my settings video for the M50. So go ahead and check it out. All right, from Billy Figueroa. That makes me think of like Frankie Fig from the whole 10 yards, 9 yards, the whole 9 yards, I think it is. Billy asks, how does the rig compare to a gimbal? Do you get the same smooth stabilization look in video? No. So this rig will be more stable than handheld, but realistically, nothing is going to be as stable as a gimbal. Well, other than a slider, but I mean, if you're moving around, it's not going to be more stable than a gimbal or even as stable. The gimbal is just able to compensate for all the movements that you make on all 3 axes. You can actually get anyways. So a gimbal is always going to do a better job. And that's why in-body image stabilization is not really that important to me as a feature in a camera, because even with in-body image stabilization, even with the GH5, for example, that I have back there that does a really good job, it's still not going to be as smooth as me going and using a gimbal. So if I want buttery smooth footage, you see gimbals over here, you see gimbals over there. I've got this is the Zhiyun M2, which will work with the M50. It's perfect if you're going to use this 22. This is like an awesome combination. If you're not going to use that 22 and you want to use something like the 16, I would upgrade to the Zhiyun Weebill S, which is that one. Sweet. Highly recommend that. All right, another super chat from Joseph Limo. Thank you so much. $5. Appreciate it. Just bought the M50. You've given me much clarity on how to use it. Oh, that's awesome to hear. Thank you for helping a novice like me use the video and grow my business. Oh, that's awesome. I'm so glad. Congratulations on the new camera, and excited that I was able to help you. So again, good job. Keep creating, and let me know if you have any questions. All right, so let's move on. And Neil Allen asked, I got into photography. Hold on. This thing freaked out on me. I got into photography and video 3 years ago, and I purchased a Canon 77D to learn on. And after 3 years of using it, I'd like to step up. My question is, what would you suggest as a good camera as a good next camera, because I'm considering going into video. I almost knocked that over. Okay, so my first question, and this is sort of a question that I ask everyone who's looking to upgrade, is why are you upgrading? Because that's going to drive the answer. So for example, if you just want to move from DSLR to mirrorless because you like the EVF, it's got better autofocus, that's going to give us those options. So my question is always going to be, what is it about the current gear that you have, camera, microphone, light, monitor, whatever it is, that makes you want to upgrade, and what will the upgrade do for you? And that's going to allow us to drive the decision there. All right, so let me go back to the chat and see what I missed. Okay, so Canon Nathan Jackson asks Canon SL3 versus Canon SL2. So 200D versus 250D. All the same cameras depending on where you're from. If you want 24 frames per second, then you need to go with the SL2. Other than that, if you want to be able to use every Canon compatible external flash, flash than the SL2. Other than that, SL3 for everything. So it doesn't have 24 frames per second. That, for me, that's okay. I'm shooting and I stream at 30 frames per second. It has better autofocus for video. It has eye detection for video. It has a clean HDMI output for streaming. Just a newer processor, just a better camera all around. Unless you need 24 frames per second. Wow, do you see that? Look at that. Look at that. There's a bug live right here. That thing attacked me. And it just got flicked. Okay, so now it's right there. Boom. That just happened live. Did you guys see that? That was crazy. All right, so I couldn't have even tried that. Okay, any advice for M50? You advise the M50. This is from Cami. I'm not even going to try the last name because I probably ruined the first name. M50 for studio photography. So for studio photography, you have... Oh, I don't know what happened to the image there. So we're going to go over here for a second. And... all right, so I am going to need to troubleshoot because you can see the main cam just shut off. All right, if you're still with me, oh, I can see a whole bunch of you saying you can't see me. Hang with me for 2 seconds. That's what happens when we go live. All right. So I think this should work. All right, we're back. That was crazy. So thank you everyone that let me know. Back on. Sorry about that. So my camera that I thought was plugged in was, the little thing was out. So it wasn't plugged in. That's no good. All right. So next question. This is interesting. So Jonathan Sayebayan, I'm horrible. I felt terrible. I'm curious for your reasoning for building this wonderful looking rig around the M50 instead of something like an EOS R. Really enjoy all of your content. I'm honestly very impressed with what you've done with the M50. Kudos. Thank you very much for the kind words. So I specifically wanted to build this around the M50 because I wanted to show what can be done with an entry-level camera. If I was doing this with the EOS R, I mean, we're already adding like $1,300 to the price of the body. The RF lenses are completely out of the price range for most people. So yes, if I build a rig out of the EOS R, it would be significantly more powerful. You can use an external recorder, but we're spending so much more money. I think this is much more accessible. Not everyone needs this. You don't need all the components. But if you have the M50, I just wanted to show people that you can create a lot with it. So hopefully that helps. Yeah, Lisa's live bloopers. That just happens. My girlfriend says that's showbiz, baby. Yeah, I mean, this is the exciting part. Look, it just did it again. So I think what's happening is the battery is so low on that camera that even when I have it plugged in, it's still not enough. That is unfortunate. Let me see. I'm going to try one last attempt here at fixing that. And if that doesn't work, we're going to need to sign off We're going to try a PD power source. This will be the last test. If it works, great. If not, yeah, thanks, Mike Kelly, for the $5 super chat. Nope, we're still dead. You know what I'm going to do? Hold on for a second. We can fix this. We can do something here. Let's try this live. What do you think? This going to work? Okay, we just need a wider angle and we'll be fine. Does that work? Am I in there? We're in here enough. We can continue the conversation. I just need to move over here, be in focus. Okay, so we're gonna, I mean, we just make it work, right? Whatever it takes. Okay, so question from Daz Rigo. You forgot to include the lens hoods and the filters. So I was saving the filters, but that's a good point. So the filters I use are these Polar Pro Variable ND Peter McKinnon filters. They're awesome. Again, it's a variable ND filter, so I have a dedicated video for it. You can select between the 2 to 5 stop and the 6 to 9 stop, depending on what you need. So with the f1.4, sometimes 2 to 5 stops is not enough when you're out on a bright sunny day. But very good. I was saving these because I was waiting for the last question. So here's what I want to do. I want to cover the last question that I was asked, and then I'll continue with the questions in the chat. So this question, this had me thinking, and it's from someone there. The username was the Unsaid, and again, it was, if you could only keep one camera, which would it be and why? So I thought about it. I thought about all the different things that I do, and the answer is that I would keep this camera. This is the Canon C100 Mark II. It's a cinema camera from Canon. It accepts EF mount lenses. I have a Zeiss lens on it. And the reason, I'm gonna move the mic over here. The reason why I would go with a camera like this one over, we can even go wider than this. We're still troubleshooting live. For those of you who get the reference, don't write it down and we'll do it live. We'll do it live. Okay. So the reason why I would go with this camera, and part of the reason why I use this, so this is actually being shot on this camera. A few things. It saves me from having to build an entire rig. So it does have a fully articulating touchscreen, or screen, not touchscreen, a fully articulating screen with waveforms on it. It has an audio interface, so I can connect 2 XLR professional microphones right to the camera. So when I record on this camera, I have this mic connected right into here instead of into an audio interface. It has unlimited recording in terms of time, so I don't have a 30-minute recording limit. I can just record for as long as I have room on the SD card. It has dual SD cards, so I can immediately have a backup, which is critical if you're doing professional work. I've got a good top handle and a good side handle, so I have perfect handling. It also, and I don't remember who asked about the filters, but let me just scroll up so this does not move. So I talked about these variable ND filters, which I still use, but this camera actually has neutral density filters built in. So there's a little dial over here on the side that I can turn, and I can go to 2 to 4 to 6 stops. So I have all of these components and lots more. I have all of these things built into the camera, so I don't need to necessarily add like the battery. Like, check out this battery. Like, this is the battery. This battery lasts forever. I also have a headphone jack here, so I can monitor my audio. I have a full HDMI output, so not a micro one, and it's a clean HDMI. I'm gonna go fix one more thing. I think I'm a little overexposed, and I don't like it. I wanted to be overexposed before because I was showing you the dark camera, but now we're gonna be like this. This is better. Okay, so I've got a clean HDMI out if I want to do live streaming or if I want to go to an external recorder, and it has a DC in, so I can just plug this like that camera is actually plugged into an outlet with the adapter that came with it. So tons of reasons why this is the camera that I would keep. But yeah, this would be it. But now that I think about it, if I could only keep one camera, I might have to change my mind. If I could only keep one camera, this camera does not shoot stills. That means I can't take any pictures. All right, back to the drawing board. That's going to be the topic of a video. All right, I'm going to make a video about this because I think it's a good question. I would love to know two things. This is from Mrs. Emery, maybe. I'd love to know two things. Is the Sigma 1.4 16mm have any features as far as zoom goes? And are there any guide for what the lenses are best to use in certain situations like portrait, landscape, etc.? Okay, so first of all, it's when you see one number on a lens before the millimeter, so 16mm, that's called a prime lens, and it doesn't zoom. It's just a fixed focal length. So no, there are no zooms on that camera. Or there's no zoom on that lens, sorry. The next question was which lens is good for what. I'm actually working on a lens guide. It's getting there, and I'll publish it. I'll let you guys know when I do that. Normally what you would do is, and if you go watch the video about those three lenses, I think I give you good examples for each. So for example, if you're going to be vlogging, if you're going to do landscape or street photography, or astro, a wide angle lens is really good. So something like the 16. If you're going to do a ton of portraits, you're going to want that 56. You're going to get a lot more compression, and you're going to get great separation from the background. But it also means you need to be farther away from your subject. And then the 30 is kind of in the middle. And we're also applying a crop to that because we're using them on crop sensor. So again, depending on what you're going to use it for, the 30 is sort of in between. That wide angle, like I said, is awesome for street, landscape, and the tighter one is very good for detail shots and for portraits. So I hope that helps answer some of your questions. Again, it's sort of detail. There's more that I can say about that. From your average Joe, true, it shows you don't need most expensive gear for great video. Definitely not. You can create really good content without super expensive gear. And what's more important to me is that when you upgrade your gear, when you choose to pay more, that you know why you're paying more and that those reasons justify the cost. So better cameras are usually better. But it doesn't mean that they're better enough to justify the cost, and it doesn't mean that you'll actually use the features that make them better, whatever that could mean. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're better for you. They could just be so complicated to use that you hate them, even though as a camera, they're more powerful. So that's just something to keep in mind. Yep, we're still troubleshooting live. This is how we do. All right, so I think we're getting, all right, let's see one more question. So we got here, I couldn't get my Elgato Camlink 4K to work with my Canon M50. Have you had success using the new Canon beta software for live stream? So this is from Adam's Exploits. Yes, I have a video about the Canon EOS webcam utility beta. I think that's what it's called. And you can definitely stream with the M50. You're not getting 1920 by 1080. I think it's like 1275 by 7 something. but it's super easy to do. You just install it. There's also a troubleshooting tip there. You need to make sure that your Canon EOS utility is uninstalled. Otherwise, it grabs the feed before the utility app can do it. So just make sure that it's uninstalled. And then you should have no issues. Definitely you need audio through your computer or through your laptop, but you're going to get great footage, and you can use all the lenses that you have. It's super good. An awesome thing for Canon to do, by the way, for free. If you're watching this and you're not from the US and you see that it says it's only available in the only supported in the US is what they say, just means that you need to go to the Canon US website. You can download it. It works everywhere in the world. It's just for Windows right now. They are working on a Mac version. So even though it says it's not supported outside of the US, I think they just mean they won't provide support, not that the software doesn't work. Also, I got a lot of feedback from people saying that they're able to get cameras that are not on the list to work. So just because your camera is not on that list doesn't mean it won't work. Give it a try anyways. The software is free. You might as well download it and give it a shot. Thank you for name is Emery. Appreciate it. $5 super chat. All those super chats, I super appreciate. I appreciate all of you being part of the community. I've got some new things coming for you guys, so very excited. Also, Vincent Chen, thanks so much. Am I too late? Hope not. Hi everyone, thanks for the $2 super chat. Okay, cool. We got some people who are watching videos today. All right, so I think I am going to sign off. I don't even know how long I've been going. Let's see how long this is. Oh, it's already an hour and a half. So I think I'm going to sign off. Thank you everyone who stayed with me through all those troubleshooting moments there. Appreciate everyone that let me know that that camera, that feed was off. So that was a first for me. Now I'll know to double check that. Again, appreciate all of you guys. I'm going to throw this, which does not work because you can't see me, but I'm going to go back to that. So thank you for everyone who was with me. Omar, you just came in. Coffee? Thank you. Or maybe you're here and I didn't know, but thank you for watching. Hope everyone saw the bug attack me live, so I have proof that I'm not just freaking out for no reason. So you guys got to see that live. If you're interested in other great tutorials, Omar Gonzalez Photography, super funny dude. Definitely go check out his channel. Again, thanks everyone. Remember what I always say, buy it nice or buy it twice. Good luck and see you guys soon. That's going to take me a few seconds. So you can watch me struggle to try to end the stream. You can like watch this live. It's going to be fun. Or not. It might not be fun. Maybe I'll answer some questions as I try to figure out how to end the stream. No, here we go. Bye.